Alright, let's take a look at the Yashica Samurai X3.0. Now, I also intended to show 2 long films of me shooting through a roll of Kentmere Pan 400 and a roll of Fujifilm 200, but I found myself totally stumped in the editing bay. Instead, let's just go on about the camera itself, what I like about it, what I hate, and we'll cut a much shorter film from what would otherwise be 2 canceled projects. Alright, for the first roll, I was out on the waterfront, semi-overcast that day, 8th of February, year 2024. With the rather flat lighting and the lack of deciduous foliage, I went for black and white. Kentmere Pan 400. Those shots I processed with the semi-stand method, including about 5 or 6 milliliters of Ilfosol 3. Scans were done in ViewScan with Epson Perfection V700 photo. And so far they look decently crisp and sharp.
Figure out how much the tree down
The
here.
smaller negative size also means more pronounced grain. And there's also the slightly taller aspect of the 24x17 negative, both of which I actually kind of like. And as for how much I paid for this thing, it was probably the second most money I've spent on a film camera, and that was $95.08 after shipping, at least according to my eBay invoices. The only time I spent more was when I bought a Mamiya M645 1000S medium format camera from someone on eBay. Now, a 645 is kind of like the half frame of medium format. And yes, the Samurai costs more than twice as much as the Retro Project Ektar H3.5, but at the same time, it's way better. It wouldn't be until the 12th of August, year 24, that I'd run a second roll of film for this thing. But here we are with a roll of Fujifilm 200, which is actually rebadged, repackaged Kodak stock. Now, as before, they scanned it decently crisp and sharp. But this time we have color. I have some close-ups of flowers and things to show too. drinking a beer straight out of the can like an American. Oh, wait a minute, I am an American. Probably didn't spend enough time binge watching Top Gear and the Grand Tour to nail the accent. Like, you know, there isn't as much room to be creative with the processing of C41, as it's much more standardized than any black and white process. So I just processed normally with adjustments for chemical exhaustion with the CineStill Cs41. Although it did deviate from the instructions slightly, and then I agitated on the minute rather than on the half minute. Based on what I see with the images and the close-ups, you get some amount of background blur, but not appreciably more than what you could get on a phone, and oftentimes less. Oh, and it's not often you see a BMW in a world of Harleys. Okay, half this segment will be stolen from the Camera Wiki. According to camerawiki.org, the Yashica Samurai X3.0 from Kyocera is from 1987. It is the beginning of the Samurai lineup, which includes the original Samurai X3.0, then the X4.0, then the Samurai Z, and ZL, a left-handed version for left-handed photographers. Now, this whole series eschews the traditional SLR form factor in favor of something newer, to embrace the half-frame format. In this camera's normal orientation, it shoots horizontal by default. But with this, we have a form factor that looks more like a taco or one of those old palm quarters. Now, other half-framers out there have a much more traditional form factor, but they take vertical photos by default. But anyways, half-frame is widely accepted in the Japanese market, especially with Pentax's return to film with their Pentax 1.7. There's the value proposition with half-frame with a normal 135/36 roll providing a bit over 72 exposures. More photos on a roll, however, doesn't mean it's any better. It could take longer to work through, especially when I like to change film stocks in the middle of a shoot. One way of getting around this, however, is to plan on diptychs, or photographing the same subject twice, but with a different composition for the second one, for instance. Now, I already have kind of a hard time getting through 36 shots without repeating myself on them. And I would argue that film stock, although not cheap, is actually a lesser expense with some of these things. To me, there's practically no cost savings in going half frame, no matter how many hipster douche tubers will tell you otherwise. And especially factoring in the cost of the camera itself. The real cost savings is in not getting into film at all. Or maybe in switching to digital. Film, however, isn't about the cost or even the end result. It's about the process and potentially breaking the process to see what comes out of it. With a camera like this, however, it's hard to break the process. Exposure is handled automatically with a DX code sensing of ISO 50 to 3200 and a shutter ranging from 2 seconds to 1/500th of a second. Max aperture goes from f3.5 to f4.3 depending on where you're at with a 25 to 75 millimeter zoom lens. Lens zoom is motorized as well, and you use 2 buttons to control the zoom here. Now I don't have any battery in this, so I can't really demonstrate it much. Maybe you get the idea there. As for the battery, it's a lithium-2 CR5, which is not rechargeable. The shutter button on this is also too easy to press in all the way instead of just half pressing to hold the focus. The lens is also slower than I'd like, especially with half frame, but it's also a hell of a lot better than anything you're getting from Red Eye Project, especially the Ektar H35. Yeah, this thing's also quite bulky, for instance. Not just for an integrated lens bridge camera, but even compared to an interchangeable lens SLR system. To me, the main appeal of the half-frame format is not in its actual function, but rather in its quirks. I, however, cannot, in good conscience, recommend this thing at all. It's a bit iffy whether or not you end up with a lemon or worse. And yeah, I may have neglected to mention that I actually bought another one of these before I bought this one, and broke it trying to clean it. If you still would like to get one, however, try to get one in good condition without lens haze and preferably from a domestic seller. I only shot a couple rolls with this, and I intend on keeping it that way. Alright, I've made a vow to myself that this, along with the Olympus IS-20, will be the last of the automatic point-and-shoot and bridge film cameras I will be doing any semblance of reviewing of.